Welcome back, everybody. Now we are going to be working on inking the torso. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit and remove my shading layer just so I can get a clear view of what I'm going to be inking. All right, now that I got that in my head, I am going to adjust the inking brush size and make it a bit bigger at about 25, 27 pixels. And I'm going to start with the traps. Notice that the first trap that I inked starts off thick, goes in thin, and the reason is that yet again this is where we add the mass to the line. Usually, not always, but usually the thicker line is the heavier, closer line. And I'm going in and, I just did a little bunch of, undos on the other trap because I didn't really like how the first line I threw down came in. And when I ink, just as a little heads up, I jump around a lot. Things that I feel, parts that I feel need to be dropped in sooner rather than later are usually the parts that, not always, but once I'm past the face, are the parts that I feel have the most mass and need to be defined earlier on because that line thickness will ultimately dictate the weight of the lines that do not necessarily carry as much impact. It doesn't mean that they're not necessary lines, but what it really means is that those lines are the ones that will tell me exactly how thick and how thin the other lines need to be as I progress. You'll notice that the lines that I put down on the lats are slightly thinner than the lines that I dropped on the pecs. So the there is a rhyme and a reason to the methodology that I use. And yet again, this is my personal workflow. So you can do this any way you feel works best for you. I found that for me, this is really the way that works best though. It clicks better in my head and it allows me to move forward making adjustments and line weights the way they need to be, at least for my personal taste. So I've already done the abs. Now I'm putting in the clavicle and dropping in a little bit of the muscle of the pec. Not really putting in any shading yet because yet again all we're doing is just the hard lines that are going to be 100% clearly defined. And you'll also notice that I'm putting down lines that are obviously going to be shaded in black, but the reason behind that is going to be completely revealed later, but I'm going to just hold off on that for now. So I'm still just putting in the indications that I know I'm going to need, all the landmarks that are essential for my piece moving forward. Don't be scared to press too hard and do too thick of a line or go too soft because you can build up the line as you feel you need. The items that I'm adding right now are pretty much the striations in the muscle. And yet again, I'm not trying to hide anything from you guys. You see me hit and undo, you see me pulling out erasers. No line that I put down is always 100% perfect. I just try to get it the way I want it to be. I just used an eraser to help me shape a line, going back and picking up my pencil and putting a little bit more indications of how the pec and the delta are going to kind of connect and wrap around each other. All of the anatomy that I put in is obviously very stylized. These are shapes that I know are identifiable. They're my own personal style of drawing them. If I was doing a truly photorealistic illustration, then obviously there would be no room for interpretation. But we're rendering superheroes. The anatomy is over the top. The shapes, as long as the outside shape is accurate, you can go in and play around with the inside shapes and shading quite a bit. So here I am just putting in a little bit more of the striations in the chest, giving some more indications for the shapes of the abs and the rib cage. Remember to keep in mind all the basic shapes for all the body parts and anatomy that you're going to be rendering, because you have to make sure that at the very least those basic shapes are correct and you're pretty much hitting the nail right on the head. We're pretty much where I feel we should be for this clip for the torso. Coming up next will be the arms. I look forward to seeing you guys there.